Hey everybody, it's Sophie and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today, at least for the moment, we are doing a ranking video. Surprise, but it's not a big involved one. We're ranking the Miracle on 34th Street movies.
And this is one where we both agree, so it's a lot easier. It's just one list.
And it's five things.
Yeah.
So.
Number 5. I guess we can both talk about each one.
Sure.
I will just go ahead and say number 5 is the 1994 Miracle on 34th Street. This is the worst version of the series for a variety of reasons. One of them is because this movie is overly long. It is so long, it's like this is never going to end. All the casting is terrible. Matilda, for some reason, she's got to be the little girl. She's terrible in this movie. She doesn't fit the character at all. The parents don't fit. And then, well, of course, the guy isn't a parent yet, but, he doesn't fit. Santa Claus doesn't fit. The movie has a lot of over-the-top things. They change a lot of stuff from the original. And
they have to.
They
have to.
Very unnecessary, the changes, like getting rid of the psychologist, getting rid of Alfred. A stupid movie. I hated it. It was a miserable experience. Safi?
Well, I just once they were told Macy's wouldn't allow them to use their name, they should have said, okay, I don't think we should make this.
Yeah. That
should have been a big red flag. Because there's no other... I mean, this Macy's and the parade have been going on for 1,000,000 years. I mean, you can't just suddenly substitute it for another store. And it's almost like, what would you call it? When you're anti-religious and you're a heresy or something. I mean, it's stupid and it's bad. And also, one thing that really bugged me was the ending. I just thought it was so over the top. It almost completely destroyed the movie. It's almost like, I can think of movies where there's, there have been all this destruction. You have this piece of land left, and then you have a great big monster puts its foot in it or swats it away, and it's almost like the final footfall of the monster defeating the movie and crushing it to a pulp. I mean, it's just it's just too unrealistic. And come on, it's almost like they knew they made a mistake and they just said, oh, that's okay, we'll just finish it up like this, over the top, never would happen. I mean, my God, the house that was completely furnished, but not only that, the Christmas tree was decorated with presents under it, and there were food all over the table, like set up for a Christmas meal, and come on, really? I mean, it just irritated me. So anyway, it's the worst, and we both agreed on everything on the list. So we went through it together, and since there's only 5, and they're all very distinct from each other. They're not exactly alike, and the presentations are different. There's special TV shows, live presentations, or, for the TV or whatever, movies. So, I mean, they're all a little bit different, so it wasn't too hard, really, to rank them. So that's it. Number 4 is the 1955 version, and that is...
This is the version. I will go ahead and... I guess I'll talk about all of them first so that Safi can be refreshed of her memory problems.
I wrote down a little note about each one.
Yeah, but they're really brief notes.
That over the top thing,
Yeah, well, this one... I thought the casting was pretty terrible, except I did like the little girl. I thought she did a good job. I did not like the Santa Claus. He was very creepy. The guy who plays the Santa in this movie, I never would have wanted him to play Santa Claus. He doesn't fit the character at all. He's not at all like the character that he played in the movie I saw with him last year. I would have said, like, why in the hell did they get him to play Santa Claus? That is a very strange casting decision. I would say that, also, the movie was very rushed. It was only 45 minutes long because it was like a TV episode, and it was just really unnecessary. Like, let's really quickly run through the original movie. Let's cut out a bunch of stuff because it's got to be only 45 minutes, and I don't like it. Safi, you can mention one big problem.
The big problem with it, and it'll be funny. I think people who have heard any of our other videos and known what we've watched, or kind of will laugh. But the worst thing about it was the violence, and you're gonna like, what? What violence? Well, we have Santa. What happened was they had some kind of Christmas play that Christmas doesn't have to be so. It shouldn't be so commercial, and it was just like some kind of anti-Christmas play, and so the little girl goes to see that with her mother, and then after it's over, it's already a downer, and then after it's over, but we don't see the play actually. They just talked about what it was going to be like. And then after that, the psychologist, comes and he gives a speech and he says terrible things about Santa. And he riled him up, and he has the cane. And so Santa shows up. Now, before he started really, personal attacks about Santa Claus, which were unnecessary for children. Really, they needed to hear that.
And you think realistically, they'd never have this in a school.
Never, nowhere.
Even if it was like the most terrible school, they wouldn't have that.
Yeah, this was for the daughter's school. That's right. It was a school presentation.
Yeah.
And so, the Santa guy knew about it, and so he had on his outfit, his Santa Claus outfit. And he showed up there, and while the psychologist was speaking, when he first started to speak, the Santa guy would show up behind him in the fireplace, and then he went to the window and peered through the window, and all the kids laughed, and they were really happy, and the psychologist going like, what the heck, why are people laughing at what I'm talking about? And then he started in with the terrible personal attacks, which, in front of a bunch of children. These aren't like high school kids, and it wouldn't have been appropriate for them either, but for little kids who believe in Santa Claus, and saying terrible things. And so he comes out, and he gets his cane, and he holds it with both hands, and he really whacks him, and you don't even see the result, because I think back then they wouldn't have shown. They had more of a, what would you call it, a buffer on violence. But this was so totally inappropriate for this movie, and for like a happy-go-lucky Christmas movie. Yeah, you're going to have some realism in it, like It's a Wonderful Life. You don't have to have that. Where the Santa, this was he gave him where he grabbed the cane with both hands and brought it down. This was like Halloween.
And it's funny because there's a villain in a movie that Safi's going to watch, and he does the exact same thing where he grabs his cane with both hands and he just beats someone to death. And it's like, that's exactly what Santa did in this movie. Like, he looked like a horror movie villain, the way that he infiltrates the set. He the way that he comes in, it was very creepy. It was like a horror movie.
And all the kids screamed. It was horrible for them.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It wasn't a good thing. And see, the thing is, when you have something like that, before, in all the other versions, all of them, you'd probably be rooting for Santa to win.
Yeah.
In fact, you are, pretty much.
Not in this one.
In this one, he is he did. I mean, he just was too angry, and I mean, this just never would happen. So of course he immediately gets carted off, and there's just you can't save it. You can't. To save him. It just isn't the same, you know. And people are like, does Santa do this? You know, I mean, he was doing personal attacks, but to react that violently. I mean, this wasn't a horror, violent movie that we were watching. This was Miracle on 34th Street.
Now, number 3. Number 3 is the 1959 version of Miracle on 34th Street. This is the one that has Ed Wynn, and it also has commercial breaks with Mrs. Voorhees in them.
Betsy Palmer.
Now, this movie, it is only an hour long, and it's okay. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing in the world. It's okay. One of the biggest problems with it, though, is that the Santa is still pretty creepy. You know, and the way that he beats the psychologist over the head is also very questionable, the way that he does it.
Yeah.
And in this one, the psychologist is a cartoon character, and that's something else to mention. One of the good things about the movie, though, is that it explains stuff that doesn't make sense from the original movie. And that is because the people who wrote this movie wrote the original. So they came in and they said, like, look, we're going to correct some of the mistakes or questions that people had about the original. So overall, I would say, like, this is a solid version, but it's not really one that I would want to watch again, except maybe the Mrs. Voorhees advertisements would be fun to watch.
She was advertising clocks and watches.
A serial killer character advertising that stuff.
But
right, Safi?
One thing I wanted to point out, and they also decided that they would give, because this is the thing that I think the biggest weakness of all of them is that getting Mr. Gailey and Mrs. Walker together, it doesn't really, it's weak. It doesn't really go together. Like, they're supposed to magically become a couple, and it just isn't. I mean, maybe it would be in real life, though. You have two people very attracted to each other, and they get together right away. But the way they had it just doesn't. It's not realistic. But you just accept it because it's the end of the movie, and the little girl wants a house.
Safi, this is the one where they were married in real life.
I know. I wanted to say that, but this version, they recruited a couple who were actors who actually, it was Peter Lind Hayes and Mary Haley, and they were a married couple in real life, and they played together in a lot of TV and movies, and so they were already married. So you could tell too in the movie that there was so much more chemistry and togetherness between the two that you didn't have in any of them. Any of the other ones, even the original. And like I said, even though the Maureen O'Hara and the guy who plays Mr. Gailey in the original one, they're great actors, and they were okay. That to me, that's kind of like the weakness of the movie, is they really, to getting together like that, like they're going to be husband and wife and have that house immediately over a course of, what was it, just Thanksgiving and into Christmas. That was they just, they hadn't really known each other a long time. So,
a month.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not, that's the weakness. It's not really realistic. But this couple, you could just tell the way they acted. They were very, they were a couple, and you could tell. You could just feel it, even though they followed their lines and their cues and everything, but you could just tell between them they were more together than any of the other couples in the movies.
number two is not number two at all. It is actually very good. Miracle on 34th Street, 1973. This one was surprisingly good, because with these movies, I don't think people really talk about this one very much, but it's a very 70s movie. It is 70s, it's so 70s, you could throw up.
And the clothes, everything, it's just amazing.
And they have this theme song, and apparently also the 1994 version was supposed to have this song, and it was by a famous group. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, really?
But they made a song just for the movie, and the people who made the movie said F you. And they didn't use it. They decided to use cover songs of the classics like Jingle All the Way. So, another misdirection, another, mismanagement thing from the 1990s movie. But the 70s movie has its own theme song, which is just very 70s. It's like, miracle, miracle, it's a miracle, miracle.
And that was a big thing back in the 70s with all these shows.
What, miracles?
No, to have these theme songs. They would actually, they probably, if you go on YouTube, you can probably find a YouTube video about theme songs from 1970 shows.
You could watch Miracle by Richard Thomas, or Animal Miracles by Richard Thomas, or Christmas Miracles by Richard Thomas. That's a really funny documentary show with Richard Thomas. But this movie's actually very good. I would say this is one of the few Santa Clauses who doesn't look or act like he should be on a sex offender list. Yeah, he's very, very good at being Santa. You got Roddy McDowall, probably the best actor out of all the actors of all these movies.
And he's great.
And he does a great job as the psychologist.
And they very much enhanced his part because he was playing the psychologist.
And this is overall a very complete movie. It feels like they really did a good job at making a little remake. It was a TV movie too, and it's good job. Safi?
Yeah, I was just, and what they did was, instead of having, Santa had a cane, but it looked like a peppermint stick. It was curved and it was red and white, like a peppermint stick. But wasn't that the one or not? Whatever.
Yes, Safi.
I just wanted to make sure.
Do deduction of elimination reduction of elimination.
And of course, Roddy had a very, very big part, like I said, because of him, probably. Because of him as an actor and how good he is and how well known he is. So, of course, they wanted to highlight him a lot. And so then when he goes too far and he's criticizing Alfred in the lunchroom of Macy's, like the employee cafeteria, Santa gets mad. Does he whack him over the head with this beautiful candy cane looking cane? No. Doesn't do that at all. He pies him in the face.
With some sort of cream pie. Couldn't figure it out, but that was very good.
Yeah,
very good.
That was fun. It was pleasant. It was more like a holiday thing. I don't know. It didn't make me feel, and you don't really feel as ugly about Santa.
Well, to be fair though, in the original movie, he doesn't really hit him at all. He gives him a tap.
Yeah.
It's like a little tap. It's not anything at all.
No, and that's why people could be on his side.
They've screwed that up though every single time except for
this one,
the pie one.
Yeah.
Well, and then I guess the 90s one, he was defending himself, but we won't talk about that one.
He was being stalked.
So number one is obviously the original. This is probably one of the few lists too that we've made where the original is at the very top. You think about Friday the 13th, that one sucked. You think about Halloween.
That's just passable.
Very good, but the second one's way better. And you think about other series, and we really haven't put the original at the top very much. But this is one where clearly the original is obviously the best movie. I mean, they put the most care into it. It feels like the most complete thing, and it's perfect. It's like there's literally no flaws with it at all. To the point of where when we did that review, we basically spent the whole review talking about the sequel that I would make with where they saved Natalie Wood from Alfred, the Killer Santa, and it was very good, and everyone loved it except for Safi, who gave it a piece of crap. Right, Safi? Because you're the Debbie Downer.
Just like, and also I wanted to say too, for all those who don't like watching black and white movies, you can watch the 1947 version in color.
Well, you can grow a pair and watch the black and white movie.
Yeah, it's interesting too. That was the problem with the modern one, is Macy's has had this parade, and of course over the years you have new cartoon characters and new storybook characters that are introduced and made into balloons, and you can actually see that, in the movie, that in these different versions, except this last one, because it really wasn't Macy's, it was Kohl's, which I thought was interesting. So it was interesting to see the balloons and what way things looked in 1947, but you can see it in color. That was like one of the first movies that was colorized.
You don't need to see it in color. You watch it in black and white like a man or like a woman.
Well, whatever.
Grow a
watch
pair.
it whichever way you want to watch
or
it. But
grow
at least you have a
something
choice
else.
if it's a problem.
No, grow a pair and watch it.
But it's the best one, and Natalie Wood is just excellent. And,
Natalie Stroganoff.
and Maureen O'Hara and the guy who plays Mr. Daly, I'm sorry I don't remember his name. They're really good, and Santa's really good, and the whole cast is good.
Yeah.
Even the prosecuting attorney.
Everyone.
And everybody, the Judge Harper. I mean, the whole cast is just perfect.
The only thing that's questionable is Alfred, because he comes across like a future serial killer. Right, Safi?
I don't know about that.
You did say he was weird, though, remember?
He's weird.
Yeah.
He is weird.
And it's like, I don't know what they were trying to do with that. Like, what... Like, was he supposed to be, like, a weird person or something? Like, I don't understand, like, or he's just so innocent, but he comes across as being creepy. Like, I don't get it.
I don't know. But anyway, so that is our ranking of all the Miracle on 34th Street. And I'm sure that many people were not aware, because I certainly wasn't, of any, even though I'm old enough, except for the 47 one, that they've shown that past when I was born, but I was around for all of those other ones. I've never heard of them. So I had no idea. The most recent one, I heard about it, and it didn't look good to me, and I was right. It wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I skipped it.
It was one of those movies where I was like, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to. But then we watched it, and it's like, see?
But we
This
did
is
it
why.
as a basis of comparison, so we could do this video.
Yeah.
And it's Christmas related.
This
So
ranking is very important. It's the most important thing you could ever do besides...
it's very important for Gen Zs and millennials to do the rankings of everything in their lives we have all seen. So anyway, everybody, I hope you like this video and give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers, and goodbye.
Bye!